theater recently, you would see the impressive job she's been doing, putting together and rejigging that place for the world to visit. So it's a pleasure to have Mrs. Akerele with us. We also have Ajia Kaltume Bulama Ghana with us today. Ajia Ghana is the artistic director of the National Troupe of Nigeria. And of course, she's also an acclaimed playwright in her own right, a theater director, and she's known usually for her innovative productions and contributions to Nigerian theater. So if you'll all welcome our guest with me, I would like them to kindly settle in as I invite Mrs. Tola Akerele to give us more like a goodwill message. She has met Professor Yerima more than I have, and she knows better than many of us here about the importance of Professor Yerima's work in Nigeria. So, Mrs. Akerele, if you would please unmute yourself and give us your address. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Toby, for having me here. It's a great honor. I'm delighted to be here. And of course, this is a really great job of having just gathering us to appreciate those who have made such significant contributions to the performing arts. And Professor Yerima is one of such people within Nigeria, highly recognized. So it's a really wonderful honor to be here and even to be sort of running the National Theatre as well. So I think I'm just thinking about, I mean, my context is obviously he was an amazing predecessor at the National Theatre, and just speaking to those who were around during his tenure, so many wonderful things were said. I think what really comes to mind, the fact that he was so revolutionary and there was a big spirit of revival, in his tenure of just having amazing content in terms of the productions, and it went beyond sort of drama and dance. I mean, having sort of comedy as well, and thinking about, just not just the work, but obviously the welfare of the staff and how they did. So just really wonderful memories from the staff. I'm just sort of asking them and speaking to them. As a lot of inspiration comes to me from the staff about my prior predecessors, and I think his is always very fondly remembered. So, just such amazing contributions, and I mean, his works are so extraordinary in the way in which they traverse, the culture of Nigeria, not just the South, but the East and the North as well. So I think amazing contributions and so many themes that are so still, I mean, obviously someone that's written over 70 plays is just commendable. And as I said earlier, it's so wonderful that we can actually just celebrate his works and his contributions and look at the themes of his work, looking at sort of cultural identity, history, social justice, all the things that are still very much relevant today. And I think, just looking at that spirit of revival, I think as we reopen the National Theatre, these are the themes we want to sort of bring in, just reviving the space and, really having amazing programming on content that really speak to giving the best to Nigerians in the performing arts space, locally, and regionally as well. So I think just a wonderful legacy for, it's an honor to stand on, where he's been as well. And so I'm deeply honored to be here and honored to say this. And well done, Toby, once again. So very excited to sort of see how the rest of the session pans out. But we need to do more of this. And of course, I'm always happy to lend my support as well. So yes, wonderful. Congratulations. I mean, so much content and so the contributions is just so immense. You just don't get many people who can actually, really embrace the whole of Nigeria and write wonderful stories and powerful storytelling. So very excited to be here and just to celebrate this great man. who I very, very much admire. I'm looking forward to also seeing the production of Go On, which should be in a few weeks' time as well. Everyone who hasn't bought a ticket should buy a ticket to that to support that also. So thank you, Toby, and thank you so much for putting this together.
You so much, Mrs. Akirele, and thank you for the great job you're doing at the National Theatre. Like you said, and this is one of the reasons why we put this event together, we want to celebrate our living legends while they are alive. And Prof. Yerima is one of those legends who, in my opinion, is under-celebrated. And I think it's high time we begin to, spotlight people like him who have done a lot to contribute to our national history and development. Thank you so much for that talk, Ma. I'll also like to invite Ajia Kaltume to kindly unmute herself and tell us our engagements and work with Professor Yerima. Ajia, please.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, Ma.
That's great. What an honor it is, really. Toby, I want to thank you very much for this. It's a great thing to do. I put on a few words together to celebrate this wonderful man that I'm so lucky to kind of come close to where he sat before. And I hope that I get to be deserving of this. Professor Ahmed Yerima, a distinguished playwright, director, and theater educator, stands as a stalwart in the realm of theater arts, with a career spanning several decades. As the artistic director and CEO of the National Troupe of Nigeria from the year 2000 to 2011, he succeeded the late Bayo Odunaye, bringing his profound vision and leadership to the forefront. During his tenure, Professor Yerima not only crafted and staged numerous plays that resonated across Nigeria and the diaspora, but also demonstrated exceptional management and leadership skills. Under his guidance, the National Troupe embarked on numerous international tours, showcasing Nigeria's culture and talent on a global stage. Remarkably, no other artistic director has matched the extensive travels and reach of the National Troupe since Professor Yerima's leadership. His prolific output and the breadth of his productions remain unparalleled to date. Professor Yerima's era at the National Troupe was marked by a vibrant flurry of creative and cultural activities, leaving an indelible mark on Nigeria's artistic landscape. Today, as we celebrate Professor Ahmed Parker Yerima, we honor his immense contributions to the arts and his unwavering dedication to the craft of storytelling. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I feel truly honored to recognize and celebrate such an illustrious figure in our creative and artistic community. And I wish to add that I'm very grateful because I've not allowed him to rest since my tenure started at the National Troupe. And I'm so happy his door is always open. I call him at any time. I feel like I need to tap into his resources of talent and his genuine love for the theater still, his genuine love for the National Troupe is really making my job so much easier. Thank you so much, Prof. I wish you great years ahead in great health and greater prosperity. Thank you very much, Toby, for this opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ajia, for that beautiful remark about Professor Yerima. We also agree with you that he is a gift to this nation and he is a mentor to a lot of us, even those of us who didn't study theater and now beginning to find inspiration from his work. So it's a privilege to know him. While you were speaking, a number of the other panelists joined us, and I'm pleased to introduce Edgar. Joseph Edgar is one of the most, I dare say, the current most prominent theater producers, Nigeria and the global stage. Joseph Yerima recently pulled a feat that was either till now difficult to pull by hosting a major theater, the Shaw Theatre in the UK, on Awolowo. And he has gone on to produce several other plays like that, and he's still in the very strong spirit of pushing forward content from Nigeria to the rest of the world. He recently set up the Duke of Shomolu Foundation in the UK, and it tells me he's also pushing to the US. That's a very daring move. So I'm happy that he could join us today. We are still awaiting Professor Ahmed Yerima himself, as well as Dr. Julius-Adeoye. But for those of us who haven't met him before, I think it's important we listen to people who have met him and can describe to us how Professor Yerima is. But before that, we'll briefly have more like an AV recitation of Professor Yerima's geography. So I would like to invite a colleague, Onyinda, to you know, blow us away about who she thinks Professor Yerima is. Onyi, are you ready?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am ready.
Take us. Thank you.
Ìbà o ìbà, ìbà fákọ́dáyé o, ìbà fáṣẹ̀dá ọ̀run ni, ìbà fáwọn àgbààgbà tó tẹ̀lé yídó, ìbà fáwọn ládé o, ìgbà fáwọn àgbààgbà tíátà tó ń bẹ lórí ètò yìí lọ́jọ́ tóní. Ìbà fún Professor Ahmed Yerima. Lónìí mo rí bá lọ́dọ̀ bàbá tó bí yín lẹ́mọ̀ gangan. Má bínú pé mo bá ọ láyé, mo pè ọ́ lórúkọ. Lórúkọ là ń pọba aládé. Lórúkọ là ń polóyè. Mi ò rí ọ fín o nítorí ọba ni ọ́. Ẹni bá rọ́bà fín lọ bá ń pa. Professor Ahmed Yerima. Mo ní nílẹ̀ Yorùbá wọ́n kan sára sí iyọ̀, nílẹ̀ Ìgbò wọ́n kan sára sí iyọ̀, nílẹ̀ Haúsá ńkọ́ wọ́n kan sára sí iyọ̀, ní gbogbo àgbáyé pátápátápátá wọ́n ń gbóṣùbà fún ọ nítorí pé o ka ìtàgé, o kọ́ iṣẹ́ ìtàgé, o mọ iṣẹ́ ìtàgé, o tún wá fi ìmọ̀ iṣẹ́ ìtàgé fún gbogbo Yerima. Àní wo kì í yọ bí ológun ẹ̀rọ o. Professor, wo kì í yọ bí oníwọ̀n gbọ̀n ọ̀pá o. Nítorí àbíọ́ sílùú Èkó, jẹ́ ń bá ọ délé Èkó gangan. Mo ní Èkó àkété ìlú àgbọ̀n. Èkó àkété ìlú òkun ọba ìlú bomi. Ta ló lómi Èkó? Ẹbí wọn pé ta ló là bàtà bútú bàbá omi kò mí. Ẹbí wọn pé ta ló là bàtà bútú bàbá odò. Èkó tángèrè ń sáré jẹ lẹ́sẹ̀ méjì lọ. Ọ̀bùn wọjà pàṣẹọṣẹ ni wọ́n pò kí bàbá tó bí ọ̀lẹ́mọ̀ gangan. Professor Ahmed Yerima. Àní nígbà tó wà ní National Theatre gbogbo àgbáyé ló fẹ́ràn iṣẹ́ rẹ gangan ni. Gbogbo àgbáyé wọ́n kan sára sí iyọ̀, wọ́n fẹ́ràn rẹ. Ẹni tó dáa ni ọ́, olùkọ́ tó dáa ni ọ́, ẹni tó ń fi iṣẹ́ ìtàgé hàn fún gbogbo àgbáyé. Professor Ahmed Yerima, ṣe bí òṣàbèjì iṣẹ́ rẹ ni. Gbogbo àwọn iṣẹ́ jàǹkànjàǹkàn tó ṣe tí gbogbo àwa ọ̀dọ́ tá ń wò tínú wa ń dùn tára wa ń yá. Professor Ahmed Yerima, àní mo ní bó ṣe ń lù ú ló máa dún lágbára Elédùmarè ọba. Àní àwọn iṣẹ́ tó ti ṣe, the great iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, the angel iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, the twist iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, the bishop and the soul iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, the lottery ticket iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, the sisters iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, Yemọja ńkọ́ iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, òṣàbèjì iṣẹ́ rẹ ni, pẹ̀lú gbogbo àwọn iṣẹ́ ribiribi tó ti ṣe. Professor Ahmed Yerima, bó ṣe ń lù ú ló máa dún lágbára Elédùmarè ọba. Yíyẹ ní yẹyẹlé o. Professor Ahmed Yerima, a máa yẹ ẹ́ ká lẹ́ni. ẹ̀rọ pẹ̀sẹ̀pẹ̀sẹ̀ lójú omi àfòwúrọ̀ pọ́n rí a máa tù ọ́ lára òní ṣàṣetì lágbára Elédùmarè ọba rírọ̀ nírun àdàbà lọ́rùn a máa rọ̀ ọ́ lọ́rùn o lágbára Elédùmarè ọba ọlá ọ̀kan ayé rẹ̀ ò ní kan ọlá èjì ìjẹ ayé ò ní gbé ẹ lọ ọlá ẹ̀ta ayé rẹ̀ ò ní ta ọlá ẹ̀rin ò ní rìn lọ ọlá àrùn ayé rẹ̀ ò ní run lágbára Elédùmarè ọba Professor Ahmed Yerima bó ṣe ń ṣe ni ó máa ṣe lọ bó ṣe ń ṣe ni ó máa ṣe lọ àwa ń wọ ẹ̀yìn yẹn àwa wà lẹ́yìn yẹn àwa gangan là ń wọ ẹ̀ tá à ń sọ wípé a ní bàbá tó mọ òye bàbá tó dángájíá bàbá tó mọṣẹ́ rẹ̀ níṣẹ́ Professor Ahmed Yerima lágbára Elédùmarè ọba òní dẹrù àrùká fáráyé lágbára Elédùmarè ọba mo ní gúnugún ikú léwe Professor Ahmed Yerima gúnugún ikú léwe òun máa dàgbà a máa rí ọba òní dẹrù àrùká fáráyé lágbára Elédùmarè ọba ẹ kú o.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Oyin. Oyin is a theater artist herself, one of the young and upcoming theater voices in the space. And she's someone I always look forward to hearing from due to her unique voice. Thank you so much, Oyin. So right now, without wasting any more time, we would like to invite the chairperson, Dr. Ngozi Udengwu, to moderate the session. Dr. Udengwu, ma.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. I am pleased and glad to be in this team of people who decided that Ahmed Yerima has not received the attention he needs because of the quantum of his contribution to theater and scholarship, in Nigeria, in Africa, and the world. So I'm excited to be part of the team. So I think Julius is here, right? Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, he is.
I don't know if Prof is here yet. Is he? Oh,
I just checked the name. I'm sure he's joining shortly.
oh my God. Is he going to come at the end of shouldn't he be here when we are doing this? He's the one we're celebrating. You understand? What are we going to do? Are we going ahead? Okay, let's keep going. Hopefully he will get, maybe he will get the recording or something. I don't know, but I think that he should actually be here when we are doing all this because he is at the center of the festival, so to speak. Okay, so the person we are here to celebrate today, Ahmed Yerima, some people may not know him because he's such a quiet person, and he's quiet, he's not shouting, he's not, publicizing himself or throwing his weight around. But if you have not seen him, or if you don't know him, today is your lucky day because he will join us here in person. And people say he has written up to 70 plays. I don't know, because it could be more than that, because this is a person who seems to be handpicked by theater. He did not find theater, theater found him. The story of him coming into theater will show you that he is just a replica of what do you call him? The character in the Bible who refused to go to preach in Galilee, or what is his name again? And then how did he find himself there? that is when the gods say you should do something, they are not joking with you. So Ahmed Yerima seemed to have been handpicked by theater to serve the people right from childhood. And you won't believe that he started writing play as far back as when he was in primary school. And his play was performed there in primary school. And then all of a sudden, maybe because of peer pressure or their parents' pressure or societal pressure or whatever, he decided to go to do law. He didn't know that he had a calling in with theater. So, and how did it all pan out? He was frustrated out of the law, the law, course. And when he thought his word has come to an end, who stood there to say it has not come to an end? Here I am. It is theater. So he found himself in theater, and ever since then, he has been so prolific, so committed. It was in 2018 at the finals of the Nigerian Drama Award, where we all met with the wife, and we were talking, and I was talking about how prolific he has been, producing so many plays in 1 year. And I asked the wife and said, "Does your husband sleep?" She said, "No, he doesn't. All right. So ever since, if somebody says he has produced 70 plays, the person knows what he's saying. He says he has produced 80 plays, the person must know what he's saying, because even as we speak, this year, 2024, you already have 5 published. And we're in July. This is the person we are here to celebrate. And people have also pointed out at the scope of his works. Ahmed Yerima is a Nigerian. He thinks Nigeria. You will not even know whether he's from East Nigeria or West or North. He's all over the place. And when you look at his plays, even from the title, you will see where he traverses the whole of, Nigeria and outside. All right. So he is a composite. He's a cultural activist. He's a cultural activist. He's a cultural ambassador. He's the man that we're going to talk about today. And we have some of his mentees, because I have to tell you this, since I didn't, I'm not complaining, but since I did not, and the time doesn't even permit us to say enough about him, but we know, I need to tell you that he is a full professor who has consistently mentored future theater scholars and practitioners. Some of them you will hear testimonies from today. You have heard a bit about his work as a theater director. He's a prolific and award-winning playwright, starting from primary school, as I just mentioned, when he penned his first play, which was performed in that school. He's a cultural administrator who was a former the artistic director of National Troupe of Nigeria, as you heard from the incumbent, and also former Director General of National Troupe, whom the incumbent you also heard from. And what Mrs. Ghana told us is a testament to the fact that Professor Ahmed Ahmed Yerima is a cultural ambassador. He has taken Nigeria, during his tenure, he has taken Nigerian troops to many places outside Nigeria. And he's a married man with children, 5 children. And he thinks and eats and sleeps Nigeria. So today, because of the nature of the program we have only a few people to speak, but that's all right. We are just getting started. Eventually, we'll have forums where we'll have enough time and more people come forward to give testament about this icon who never sings his own praises. So permit me, therefore, to go into this panel. This panel is made up of 3 very close associates and former mentees of Professor Ahmed Yerima. They are going to tell us a little bit because we don't have much time, so they have little time. I don't know what they are going to do with 3 minutes, but whatever they can, let them tell us, the bit they can about Ahmed Yerima. So if you don't mind, I'll start off then with, I trust that the 3 of them are here already, since it was only Julius we were waiting for, and I can see him and I'm looking at him. You look so nice, as usual. All right, you're so welcome. All right, so I will start with you then, Jay, as he's popularly called. We're talking about indigenous narratives in Ahmed Yerima. It's works. And we've been talking about it. It also, relates to the idea that he's a cultural activist and so on and so forth. So, how has this penchant for indigenous narrative impacted you as a chairperson?
Oh, thank you, Professor Udengwu. I quite appreciate your introduction of the man we are here to celebrate. And I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you. I hope every other person is hearing. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, they are muted. So
thank you, everyone, and so nice to have you here. And it's an honor to be speaking about someone who, I will use the word, on whose shoulder I'm standing, right? On whose shoulder I'm standing to be where I am today. So it really interests you that I did the first full-length PhD research work on the body of Yerima's work. And in the course of my research, at the time, I divided his works into 3 different categories. And within this work, for the past 10 years, Yerima, at least I was on with my PhD for more than 10 years now, and Yerima's work after that has kind of eclipsed the one that he did before then. And when Professor Udengwu said that is so prolific, and when someone said he has written 70 or 80 plays, that they may not be lying. The truth is that Yerima has done quite more than that. And right beside me, I can show you some of the works of Yerima. Some of them contain 2 to 3 or 4 of plays in a particular volume, and others just 1 or 2 or 3. But when you count everything together, Yerima has published quite a a lot. Right now, I can say published almost 100 published work. So quite more than 80 or 84 or that anyone would say. So then to go back to the body of Yerima's work and how to respond to the question you raised regarding his writing on what you consider as traditional plays that speak to the different cultures within the Nigeria society or the Nigerian landscape. You actually talked about it when you started, that he has crisscrossed and written works, plays that reflect the different ethnic and society within the Nigerian space. But what I found intriguing has been the way he handled his plays that speaks to culture. And I discovered that Yerima seemed to be very comfortable with the Yoruba culture, very, very comfortable. And then with the plays from the northern part of Nigeria, yet he has not neglected them at all. He picked them, some of the ethnic group that you may have not heard of in the north, another part of the country. He has taken time to write about them. He has written plays that reflect the Nigerian socio-political reality. So for me, I regard Yerima as a socio-political realist playwright, someone who look at the going on within the society and tries as much as possible to document it in drama or in dramatic form. So when he picked these cultures, he interrogates them just like the person who is from there. And this knowledge given me I would say the opportunity to know some of this culture and the people and names from this area. So in one way or the other, Yerima transports me or move its readers and audience to the culture that they hitherto may not be aware of or familiar with or just heard in passing. So bringing this culture to me and then makes me look at him as what you consider as cultural proponents or culture, someone who propound and push forward culture, and someone who also like to reveal the unknown. All right, he picked that which is familiar within the socio-political reality of Nigeria and link it to a particular culture that may not be familiar, that people may not be familiar with. So this familiarity is, I can say that one of the key things I picked from is multicultural plays. Though I've had to argue that if you look at the Yorima's work within the global landscape, that I will not call him a multiculturalist. I rather call him someone who is an Africanist or a Nigerian, who portrays what we consider as Nigerianness, not Yoruba attributes or Igbo or Hausa or the Fulanese, whatever, but Nigerianness. Within, he considers that all these cultures can cohabit, and then we can see the uniqueness in each one of them, and that we are familiar and we are safe if we go deeper. Every culture within Nigeria is facing a social political crisis that the other one is facing. So within it, and that we all have a unique story to tell. And Yerima has taken himself as a voice of these ethnic nationalities to tell their stories. I don't know if I respond to the question you asked.
Oh, sure, you have. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. There was a time Society of Nigerian Theatre Artists Conference was based on the issue of restructuring, and some of us were saying that Nigeria does not need restructuring, but trying the structure we have, that the people have not even tried the structure we have already to know whether it works or does not work. And for example, that a playwright, you pick a playwright's work, you can tell where he comes from.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You can whether it's a Yoruba or Hausa. So if you are from Nigeria, right? Yeah. Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, they are all reality of Nigerians. When you're writing about Nigeria, they have to be there. So we have not even tried the structure itself to see whether it works on. I thank God that the Prof is here himself. All right, thank you for coming. Hi, Prof. Okay, so thank you so much, Julius. And the next question is very interesting, and that goes to Mr. Joseph, Edgar, and who else to answer this but the Duke of Shomolu himself, because there has been all this talk about theater and film, whether film is a threat to theater or whether film has taken over from theater and so on and so forth. I have my opinion about that, but this is not about me now. But Miss Edgar will tell us. Hi, Joseph. You're welcome to the program. So the question is the perceived interplay between films and theater in contemporary Nigeria and implications for the future of performing arts. What's your take on that, Mr. Edgar?
Okay, good afternoon. Are you guys hearing me? Am I being heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, so let us start by congratulating Professor Ahmed Yerima for his stupendous achievements so far. And hopefully I want to believe that this is just the beginning and that Nigeria would gain much more from him, as he continues to live a long and very, very rich life. Now, this question that people are asking me now is a very tough question. Well, I spoke to the organizer yesterday and I'm wondering why they're asking me this kind of question. They should ask me a simple question. This one, I don't even know where to start from or where to come from. I don't even, But let me try, and I'll try very hard. Nigeria is witnessing a resurgence on both sides, but maybe not as fast, as quick, as robust on the theater side. On the movie side or the film side, it's witnessing a very, very fast and engaging renaissance in terms of influence, in terms of impact, both culturally and otherwise, and financially, and in terms of so many other measures of things that we used to measure. But recently, we begin to notice that there's a very simple but very straightforward, sure impact that theater is now having on movies as a result of the not too fast move of theater in the space. So we're beginning to see historical movies coming out from Nollywood. I mean, Burnley's Basharuga, Burnley's Fumleo, Ransom Kuti, and then the other guy's movie that made so much impact. I want to believe, I could be wrong, that is theater influencing films, because theater has stayed very true to tradition, stayed very true to history, stayed very true to culture. In fact, if you make a cursory look at productions in the last 5 to 10 years, or even further down, you see that, and this may take a very wild guess, 70 to 80% of these productions are steeped in our culture, history, and all of that. In fact, we at Shomolu Production, we've done 24 productions, and some of the productions that we've done that didn't do too well were modern day productions that had to do with modern day living. But productions that had to do with our history and culture usually sold out, no seats, nothing. But that again could be as a result of our branding, which is culture and the rest. So people feel that, okay, for you to go watch educational production, that you want to go to history, and then you want to watch something that has to do with other themes or other topics, you go somewhere else. So I that may discount my listen. But on the whole, you see that the work of people like Professor Ahmed Yerima is contributing very seriously to this renaissance on both sides. Theater is a very poor cousin of the film industry, and that's because I don't think that theater practitioners are ready for what it takes to attract the kind of capital that goes into film. But even with that, the fact that theater is not getting those kinds of resources keeps theater very close to its roots, which is now beginning to impact films as the films are running, as the films are, what's the word now, are pushing themselves into irrelevance because of the numerous, what's the word now, but they are running out of steam. Yes, that's the phrase. They are running out of steam. So because they're pushing out so much works, they're running out of steam. So they're not looking at which other areas should we look at. So they're not beginning to look at history, culture, and tradition. And then because theater has already prepared the market for that, it's an easy take. So we are seeing people talking about Shomolu, I've seen people talking about Adejumo, I've seen Shomolu talking about all of that in its pure essence, because theater had prepared the market for them, as a result of the efforts of people like Professor Yerima. I hear I'm still going to speak again after this, but let me just say this very quickly. For us at Shomolu Production, we do not see theater, we do not see history, culture, and wherever, in whatever platform we used to seek to tell the stories as an entertainment platform. We see it as a very strong vehicle of national cohesion. We see it as a very strong vehicle for economic, political renaissance of our country. And that is why we do not joke with people like Professor Ahmed Yerima. His works before with other people and his works with us have gone a long way to enable us to achieve what we're trying to achieve on that platform. So in conclusion, I see a very positive outlook on the interplay between theater and films. I see it getting more robust. I see it getting deeper. I see the boundaries blurring, especially in the areas of creativity, in the areas of talent, in the areas of content. I see theater, if theater practitioners become serious, like Professor Ahmed Yerima, influencing content on the film side, and by larger extension, impacting on the markets, on Nigerians, and also globally. So let me stop there for now. Thank you. I hope I made some sense.
Yes. Oh, sure. You have made some sense. And like I said, or I agree with you when you say that it's a big question for you to answer. It is a big question because, like I said, I have my own opinion about the issue between theater and film, and my view is simple. Film is theater, as far as I'm concerned. We are talking about medium of expression. So when we talk about theater, our mind goes to live theater that is in the present. Everything is in the present. The performers are there. The audience is there. Everything is real, right? While film is virtual. Okay, so and theater reflects the society. So it's a matter of film coming into the technology of film coming into the society, and theater, using it as usual to reflect the temper of the age. That's where I see film and theater. I don't know, that's my own personal view of it, that film is actually a theater virtual, while live theater is live and non-recording. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And we have another question, and this time I understand he is Mr. Emmanuel Adejumo Babasala Jr. And the question for you is about the mentorship of Ahmed Yerima. And Ahmed Yerima is somebody who I can, explain, knows a lot about mentorship and cherishes mentorship, because he will never stop talking about the influence the Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, had on him right from the first, from his undergraduate years, to the point that he modeled things, his plays, and so on and so forth, based on what he learned from Soyinka. And he is somebody who has gone ahead to also mentor a lot of people. All right. And since Mr. Adejumo, you are one of them, will you tell us how your creative trajectory was influenced by the mentorship you got from Ahmed Yerima? Adejumo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ma. First of all, I would like to thank God for his life, Professor Ahmed Yerima. One thing I first learned from Professor Ahmed Yerima was discipline. You want to be one of his protégé, you want to learn under his tutelage, you have to be disciplined. Without that discipline, there's nothing you can do. Prof is a strict person. He loves you when you are disciplined and you know the job. Number two, you have to know that job. You have to release yourself to do the job. So I am very, very fortunate, and I thank God for meeting Professor Ahmed Yerima. I call him daddy because he's my daddy. He's my daddy, and his life, his writings, his directing style has really influenced me, influenced my creativity. For the past 10 years now, some of my books that I've written, Motaje, Ikemba, and recently the King Sanyade, you see Professor Ahmed Yerima's touch here and there in those books, because this is a person that I've been working with for close to 25 years now, and everything about my life in terms of my creativity is Professor Ahmed Yerima. I always follow his footsteps, his styles, Even though I've read so many books too, I've read books, plays from Professor Wole Soyinka, Kemi Osofison's books and others, and other contemporary writers. And in all, I see a lot of transformation in his, in Professor Ahmed Yerima's approach, both to his literary work and his directing, you know. So, and the course of that, I think I prefer his style of directing. His style of writing had also influenced a lot of what I have been doing in the industry. When I talk about mentorship, or people were talking about mentorship under him, he's supposed to things, and life generally is very subtle. He's got a lot because I always say daddy, because he's just like my daddy. He opened himself to you, and he's ready to teach. He's ready to answer any question you ask him. You know, I think that's what makes him a teacher up till now. Even though when he's teaching us, he's directing us on stage, well, he's still teaching as a teacher. He's a father. Sometimes he didn't present himself as boss, but a teacher, a father, somebody who will teach you with love, you know. So that's the kind of person Professor Ahmed Yerima is, you know. So, and as somebody who is learning under him seriously, I followed him strictly. I followed him. He's a person that when you are patient enough, you get many things from him. His style is strict. Professor Ahmed Yerima is sometimes spiritual. When he's writing his book, sometimes I wonder how will I connect my own spirit into what I'm writing, because most of his play, you know, is spiritual. Prof, when he writes a play, somehow the subject of that play, or somebody is writing that play on, they will connect to each other. And that's why one of those things that make his play a very wonderful one, a successful one, you know. That is one thing we learn much about Prof, you know. So Professor is somebody that I always follow, you know, follow him to learn more about his style, you know. And when we talk about my trajectory in theater performance, in theater generally, as the outlook that he gave as the director of the National Troupe of Nigeria while I was under him directly, if you look at all his plays, those satires, it's good to find that subtle touch of affecting the socio-political environment. If you read Sanusi, one of his plays, Sanusi, you see that he tried not to, but sometimes he attempts to give direct attack on how the government or how people attack culture. He's a cultural person. So one thing I learned from him, he doesn't joke with culture. When he writes about a cultural thing, you see and you feel that culture in what he's writing. He's a good researcher. He do research very well. He called many people thoroughly before he brings out his play. Look at the Sanusi, you know, and some of his plays too. So Prof always conduct that research and makes his play a very unique one, you know. And I think I mentioned Sanusi now. Look at the sisters, even Yemaja, that is culturally based story. You know, you will see that his attempts to address the conflicts resonates directly with our current situation in Nigeria and the entire world. You know, his approach to attempting to bring solutions or resolutions to his place. And now, when you are now there, when he directs, he opened up the depth, the background of the information that leads to whatever he's writing about. And how he has subtle, he has subtle places, place such information there. So that's whoever is reading, whoever is looking, whoever is watching what is doing, you see, you not just see the aesthetics, but we see a writer, a director, and an author trying to put a change to the society in the course of theater. That you see in me. It influences all what I do. Everything you see about Prof is what I always emulate. And even when we do rehearsal, I always assist him in one or two things. And whatever people ask me about him, I tell them, see, Prof is this, Prof will not like this, Prof. It's same thing you meet Prof telling them. So it is not like me is his son, whatever he says, whatever I say, sometimes is what he's thinking, you know. That is as much as he influenced my life, he influenced my character. When I work with him, you know, it's always when whatever he says, I say. Whatever I say, if he's not there, he repeat the same thing. So I'm happy and I thank God for working with Professor Ahmed Yerima and for him accepting me as one of his teaching, you know, as his son. You know, showing me so many tricks in playwriting, in directing, which I've always been doing. I've always been emulating. It has influenced everything that I do in the arts. So I thank God for this, and I will always thank my staff for meeting Professor Ahmed Yerima. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adejumo. Thank you so much. This is mentorship we're talking about. I know that mentorship is actually African culture. All right. Yeah. That's the way African culture is structured. Elders are mentoring younger ones, and every elder knows that is his duty. And that is where his respect lies. So the younger ones respect the elder ones, not just because they are older, but because they are their mentors. Thank you so much. And that's also in line with what we mean when we say that Ahmed Yerima is a cultural ambassador. All right, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so Adejumo, we come back to you. We know we're still going to hear you in full, but let's hear you once more, a little bit once more before we come to your keynote, presentation. This time, theater studies and practice. Where are they heading in Nigeria? With regards to the approaches we have heard or we know about Professor Ahmed Yerima, in what direction do you think theater practice is heading?
Well, thank you so much, Prof, again for the question. I think right now I want to bring Mr. Edgar on the table because when he said, well, what kind of question do you ask me? I think you're putting me in my own turf while you remove him from his own turf. Okay. And well, I will tell you that the theater studies in Nigeria has a great future right now. That's the truth of it. The bulk of the people who are doing well in the Nigerian film industry, the bulk of them, or who are making the change, is that change that we're seeing in the development of the new Nigerian film making. You will discover that the bulk of them have a theater background, and that's also impacted on the number of people or students who are coming into theater studies across Nigeria. If you look at it from the institutional or educational area, you will discover that we have more universities in Nigeria now offering theater art program. And I would take Redeemers University as a case study, the first faith-based theater program in Nigeria. And since then, almost all the faith-based universities in Nigeria now run a theater program. And our graduates and the graduates of these universities, many of them are making an attempt or trying to continue the tradition of live theater. But when some people say that theater is dying, live theater is dying in Nigeria, I laugh because there's resurgence within the academic environment. The number of performances going on every year in each universities offering theater art programs, it cannot be quantified. There are many. And then you see the audience, the non-student audience, always patronizing the theater within the academic environment. I would take it maybe because of security, okay, because you have to come to the theater late in the evening, and they found a place to be a bit secure for them to visit. Some 30 years ago, it would have been difficult to practice theater in Maiduguri. But now you have a theater department in the University of Maiduguri, like you have in Kano and all the other places. So this shows that there's future for the theater, and it's also a training ground for the film industry. So the relationship between the theater and the film seems to be a symbiotic one, and one is creating material for the other. Okay, and creating material, both text and also the actors, the people to work in the industry, the film industry in Nigeria. So now, if you look at the emergence of content creation, online content creation, you will discover that many of those who study theater art are also doing great in this area. I can give a good example of Mr. Macaroni, Adebowale, who studied theater arts at the university, Redeemers University here. And within his team, at least 6 of them that I can point to study theater arts. It means that there is future for them. And if we look at it from the practice, but outside practicing the theater itself, there is always opportunity to work elsewhere. The knowledge acquired while studying theater is so wide. But now let's move to the society.
Hello, unmute yourself. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, I'm sorry. Apologies. I think I'll move on. Oh, this is the case now is that if we look at people, a good example is Edgar himself, whose theater is up and running. And then you have Just Repertory, you have Aruja in Abuja, you have including Bolanle Austin Peters, and then you have people who ab initio never studied theater and are doing well in keeping the live theater going on all around Nigeria, from the south to the west to the east and to the north. And then it means that there is future for it. The one thing I've come to realize is that the same way, right from time, the theater has been a form of elitist pastime, okay? And then when it started, when we talk about the live theater, the Laranjo theater of the old in Nigeria, you will discover that people like Ogunde and those before them were commissioned by the church. And in the church, most of the people there were, I'm referring to Ogunde now, and like Davies and the others that the Anglican Church were sponsoring at the time, or the African Church Mission. So the people I think were just elites too. And if you go to the non-literary form, you will discover that the kings, the chiefs, were patronizing them. So so they become a player in the court of these kings and royals and the nobles. So it has always been an elitist thing. So coming to the university and staying there within the academic environment doesn't mean that the theater has died or dying. There's resurgence. and then it's now becoming widespread, coming out in different forms, going to the internet, the social media, and then remaining position itself in the cinema, like you said. And it's really interesting that Yerima himself has appeared in quite a number of films made in Nigeria, and has also written scripts for them. And aside that, the first, I could say, the first practice-led research, project research done in Nigeria on screenwriting was supervised by Ahmed Yerima. Okay, and so it means that if you look at Ahmed Yerima's work, and then you look at you cannot divorce it from theater, from the film industry itself, because it's making its contribution right there. So the theater has a great future, and because it knows where to go at the right time. Then don't forget the theater for development aspect of it, where we use the theater to address social and health issues, community-related issues, okay? And so for us to say that the right response I will give is that there's a great future for the theater in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I remember when we had a conference on that too, and the late Akinwale, because I presented a paper saying that live theater is dead in Nigeria. Akinwale stood up, and in his own reaction, he said he will not put it quite that way. And we said, so how will you put it? He said, it is sleeping. So now from what you just told us, perhaps it's working. So Akinwale was right. God rest his soul. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so Joseph Edgar, we come to you again. And this time, we want you to share with us stories of your collaborations with Professor Ahmed Yerima and how the humanity and mentorship style, his humanity and mentorship style influenced you in those collaborations. Edgar, thank you.
Oh, so sorry, Mark. Can you please ask me that question again, please?
Yes, we want stories from you of your collaborations you may have had with Professor Ahmed Yerima and his mentorship style, how it affected you or influenced you or impacted you, what you learned from his humanity and mentorship style.
Okay, I'm sorry I had to rush into a cab to go for another meeting. So I have begged the cab driver to hold on for me to finish this talk before I pay him. I hope he will hold on. Okay, so I have an investment banking background. And investment banking, the ease of doing business is usually a very big consideration in choosing counterparties to a transaction. If you have counterparties who are very troublesome, who are very nihilistic, even if they are the only ones that have that money, you will not do business with them, because you want to have an environment of peace, an environment of mutual respect, an environment where it is about concessions, negotiations, not a hostile environment, so that things can be achieved. In my 7 years in this industry, I have worked with a series of directors. Some have been very conciliatory, Some have been very turbulent, very, very turbulent, extremely turbulent. One has been majorly corrupt, and then
Please unmute.
oh, okay. So where did you stop here?
I think maybe it's because of the noise coming from your hand.
No, where did at one point, did you stop hearing me, please? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You were talking about the directors you've worked with.
Okay. So I said that I've worked with a lot of directors in my 7 years in this industry. Some have been very conciliatory, beautiful to work with. Others have been very turbulent, almost violent, verbally abusive, and they will hide under the eccentricity of a creative and say, oh, directors are like that when they get close to production. One in particular has been corrupt, has been a thief. Once they bankrupted me. But my experience with Professor Ahmed Yerima stands out for 2 reasons. One is the kinds of stories we take to Professor Yerima to help us tell are stories that we do not joke with, are stories that form the very core of our mission in Nigerian theater, stories that will appeal to the unity of Nigeria, appeal to national cohesion, appeal to the need for us to continue to believe in this country. And that's why we take places like Sardana to Professor Yerima, places like Aremu, places like Emir Sanusi, and the Gowon is about to do now. Secondly, his approach towards our relationship is that of mutual respect, is that of concessionary, is that of peace, is that of allowing for a sane environment for creativity to work. This I cannot say is the same for most who I've worked with. This I cannot say is the same for some people that I've heard in the industry. I am a visitor in the industry and I expect to be treated like a visitor. I do not expect to be attacked for whatever reason. I don't expect to jump into a hostile environment because I'm trying to do whatever it is I'm doing. And it's because of my relationship with Professor Yerima that has made me tell my people that we must put as priority the policy of ease of doing business. I cannot be running around Nigeria looking for money up and down, and I'm coming back to be fighting director because he's director. I cannot be running up and down, receiving embarrassments, insults, risking my life, jumping from bike to bus to aeroplane. When we did AWO, I went to Ikene 27 times. I went to Ikene 27 times, including driving that Lagos by the road on the midnight for only for one man to not come and steal the money and still abuse me on top of it and say he's the director. People like Professor Yerima gives people like us hope. Theater cannot attract the kind of funding it needs if it continues to have practitioners who behave like bandits. And that is why it behoves on people like Professor Yerima to forcefully engender his mode of operation on the system. When I came out from London, I went to Professor Yerima and I told him my experiences. He apologized to me, but he has to go beyond that. Now that he's still very sprightly, he should have master classes on integrity, on ease of doing business, on respect. Because without these things, the money will not come. If money does not come, we won't achieve anything in your industry. I have never had a problem with Professor Yerima in those 4 productions we have done. And we've done some of the most difficult productions. We did them in Asanusi, same time in Abuja, same time in Lagos. You can imagine the logistic nightmare. The show starts 4 p.m. in Abuja, 4 p.m. in Lagos, 2 different casts. We finish Abuja, we fly to Lagos. You can imagine that. Then there's no problem. No problem of missing funds. No problem of Duke does not like me, does not respect me. No problem of Professor Yerima is not taking my course. No, everything easy. And then I come and do one play. I can't get BP. Cast size of Sanusi is huge. Compared to Lagos, and Ibadan, and Lagos, and Abuja. So for me, I don't know if I'm going to have to speak again. This is a clarion call on people like Professor Yerima, people like Professor, what's that man name for Ekiti now? Ojo. So that give back, it's not about 80 books. Professor Yerima has written enough books. Professor Yerima has done enough productions. But Professor Yerima, for these things to be institutionalized, for your legacy to continue to be immortalized, you have to call the people coming behind you and put into them those character traits that has made you the titan that you are today. Lastly, I always tell these people I work with, and I'm saying it here again now, without any fear of conviction. Talent is a given. Talent is a given. The way we business people look at it, everybody in theater is talented. Whether you are Professor Yerima, whether you are Emmanuel Bosala, whether you are Dr. whatever, all of you are talented. What I see from the outside is a pool of talents. Yes, with variation. So some might be better with musicals, some might be better in script writing, some might be better in dancing, you get, but base is that everybody has talent. Now, what makes that person to become a Professor Yerima, what makes that person become a Professor Shoyinka is discipline, integrity, self-respect. You cannot be stealing from a producer and expect to be immortalized. You cannot be stealing from your actors. The peanuts you are paying the actor, you take 20% cut to the director. You cannot be sleeping with the girls to give them the roles. And you expect to be immortalized, no matter how talented you are. No matter how talented you are, if you like write book pass with a Shakespeare, once your character is diminished, you cannot have the kind of respect that people like Professor Yerima are having today. There are some people in this industry who are professors, who are whatever, that they call me to come and talk, I will come. If I come, I will finish him. I fear nobody. There are some people they cannot call me to come and say, come and talk. They say, will not agree for this talk because of my experiences with them. So don't let me talk too much. Prof, what the challenge that I'm giving you today is slow down the books, slow down all those things. Is for you to, if you want to do a national tour, we look for the money, we pay. You carry all these people behind you, all these upcoming directors, all these actors, and have master classes and explain to them who you are. Explain to them your essence, because it is who you are that's reflected in these works that we are celebrating today. It is your essence that is reflected in the books. If you're a corrupt person, it will show in your works. You can't hide it. So my experience with Dr. Yerima, Professor Yerima, is what is keeping me in this industry. And me, I like to blow my trumpet. I am the biggest. That's the honest God truth. In terms of budget, in terms of number of productions in the last 7 years. And if I can be this angry, then can I imagine other people, how they feel? If I have worked with over 5,000 people in this industry, I've raised over 3 billion. Our alone was 200 million. If my interest in this industry is hanging on the thread of my respect for only one Professor Ahmed Yerima, then there's a problem. We must tell ourselves the honest God truth. No need to pity party. If these things cannot be addressed, then Professor Yerima, Professor Wole Soyinka, Professor Bakare Ojo, all the great professors have failed totally. If you cannot bring up worthy successors that can hold your legacy with integrity, then you have failed. That is my challenge to Professor Yerima today. If I've offended anybody, I'm sorry, but that's my truth. I thank you, and God bless you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. And you said a lot that resonates with us and with the rest of the things we are saying. But this challenge, and I hope that Prof is still there and in listening to you, it's no longer, the video is not showing. But there is this challenge, Prof, that you should slow down on writing books, and channel the energy towards giving master classes. I know that some members of WWE who have more or less stepped aside from the rings, they are now into they have now classes where they mentor people, so I think Edgar this is kind of thing he's suggesting to you, because he says that talent is good, but talent alone is not enough. Character is important, and you have all right? You have all that. They want to see more of you in, bringing more people up in integrity and the ease of doing business. Thank you so much. That is the Professor Ahmed Yerima that we all know. And in a bigger forum, you will hear more people, and everybody will be, hinging on his humility, his ease of doing business, and respect for humanity, and so on and so forth. Thank you, and thank you so very much. Okay, so we have one more question for you before the general one, and I'm talking to Mr. Adejumo, the Vasala Jr. Okay, so the question is, how do you think Ahmed Yerima's work have impacted the Nigerian theater and performing arts space? And where do you see our future generation? Building on it or departing from it? What is your take on this, Mr. Adejumo? I hope he's still there. Mr. Adejumo. He's there, but I'm not sure if he's listening to us. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, can you?
Is that Mr.
Okay, ma'am.
Adejumo?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. So
Yeah.
did you hear the question?
Yes, I heard the question well, ma'am. I have not seen anyone in the theater space that will see Professor Ahmed Yerima's work or legacy, or would want to upturn his idea. Never. His legacy. Never. Why I'm saying this? Professor Ahmed Yerima is like a bridge. Though he is in a septuagenarian now, it means he is old enough. He's old enough to have seen the past, and are still young enough to experience the present. We thank God for his life anyway. We thank God for his life. Professor's work is majorly I mean, there's no university in Nigeria. There's no university in Nigeria where theater art is being taught that one or two of his work, his plays, is not assigned to students as a project to study. That's one thing. So his work is going viral. It's going to different universities. I can't say how many schools that have called me that they need approval to do this play, that play, all plays of Professor Ahmed Yerima. You know, when he writes his play, he gives enough expressions of how the director can work on it, you know. And I see him as one of those authors and theater gods that you cannot just upturn his work. In far future, I mean, maybe in 50 years to come, or maybe even 100, I see his work as a guide for Nigerian theater, because he looks into the root. As I said at the show, that he always do research very, very well before he writes any of his plays. So he looks into he does not joke with the root. So the next generation or the future generation, when they see his play, they will see that play, his plays as a kind of research for their own present job. Then, so okay, look at his play, for instance. Enugu we know Enugu is a core city, you know. It's a core city. We all know that it's a core city. A lot of people might not know that might not know what people pass through during the mining of coal and what they've experienced like that. But when you read Udengwu, you see a lot about this problem encountered during the mining of coal in Enugu. And in that play, you see the conflict, how he solved the conflict between the Christianity and the tradition. So Professor Yerima's play is something one cannot just joke with or just abandon like that, or thinking of turning. You know, his drama, his theater always contains seeds of national integration, as he aptly use aesthetics. He used more of aesthetics. That's another thing I learned from him. If a play is a dead play, Professor Yerima have this power, have this magic of resurrecting that kind of a play. And that's what the same thing he used in most of his plays, or in writing some of the plays, you know. So he actually used aesthetics, social, political, and esoteric themes in his drama, which is very, very useful for the theater practice in Nigeria. He has authored many works now. We are talking about it, over 100 plays, or close to 100 plays. Now, and I'm aware that about 5 is going to come out very soon again, apart from 5 that he has produced this year. So his work is writing, is still counting, writing, and most of his work that he has authored are in 2 categories: language and literature. You know, language and literature with satiric language, humor, political culture, ridicule, code switching, like that, sharp. You know, his work is a friendly one that everybody loves to read and enjoy and even see the play. I always tell him, when I read your play, it's as if I'm watching a film. I'm seeing a movie in front of me, because I always follow is placed with my heart. So I always get myself deep into the play. Therefore, the younger generation have to level up with doing a lot of studies, research of Professor Yerima's work. You know, his style, his method, they need to learn it now. That's why some of us we are thinking of starting a festival in his name very soon. The Professor Ahmed Yerima Festival of Plays is going to come up, if not this year, first quarter of next year by God's grace, so that we can be talking about his plays, how he writes those plays. With that, we think we are going to immortalize him. You know, we are going to immortalize him. So the younger generation needs to praise up. You know, they need to praise up so as to love what they have in order to keep his legacies and to build themselves to become an outstanding thespian instead of thinking of turning his work. That's my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I agree with you that, as a matter of fact, we need to read him more in the universities. I know that when I taught a course, titled Nigerian Playwrights and Their Works, before then, the work of Yerima that they knew was the hard ground, because the moment the hard ground won the NNG prize, it was all over the place, right?
Exactly.
So when I mentioned Ahmed Yerima and I said, how many of his plays do you know? Mention them. Everybody was shouting, hard ground, hard ground. So I told him, now go and research and give me a list. And give me a list of plays written by Ahmed Yerima. So when they why am I muted? Okay, so they made a shocking discovery, because at that time, that was 2013, the list they made was 38, which I personally eventually found out was short of what was published at that time. All right. That was why I said, if anybody said that he published 80, 90, 100, the person may not be in the line. I'm talking about 2013. All right. So, and we need more of his books, more of his plays in the university libraries and university bookshops. Thank you so much. And another thing he mentioned, very important, he says that he doesn't just write. Ahmed Yerima doesn't just write play to make us laugh. That his plays are based on research. Very, very important. Very, very important. When we're talking about, the presence of cultural icons and so on and so on in his plays, go and read sociology, and you'll find out that what he's saying about these cultural elements, he did not manufacture them. It's a result of research. So thank you so much, Mr. Adejumo. So finally, we come to the final question, which is that, of course, the singular most significant contribution, of course, there is no one singular, contribution, but each person will give us just one. All right. So, and this question goes to all three panelists. Adejumo, Edgar, and Adeoye. I hope Edgar is still hearing us. So the question is, what would you consider to be the singular most significant contribution of Professor Ahmed Yerima's works and mentorship in shaping the direction of theater and the role of theater practitioners in Nigeria? Who goes first?
Well, maybe I should bear the cat.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's the same thing that we've been talking about. The single most important contribution of Ahmed Yerima to Nigerian and or indeed world theater scholarship, is place. Is place. Okay? If we talk about the culture that we find in this place, we may not be talking from a global perspective, right? If we talk about the fact that there is a socio-political realist playwright, we may be talking about Nigerian African socio-political reality. It may not be global. But the fact that he's been able to write himself into his place and giving unto us materials that will live beyond him, the materials that we will continue to interrogate and to work with long after he may have gone, and then generations after we still continue to touch those materials and work with them, both in the area of critical analysis and also in the area of staging. And it will interest you that in scholarship here in Nigeria now, I will tell you that we interrogate Yerima's work from diverse perspectives and different disciplines. Scholars are coming from there to look at Yerima's work and how it relates to their own field. Take, for instance, when you look at its historical place, I've had to respond to some queries from people working in the area of history and needed suggestions and guidance. And I do tell them, okay, pick this very material of Yerima. As you picked it, what did you see? And okay, now one thing is that it ginger in you an historical reality. It's as a core material used in the study of new historicism, all right? That if the names you mentioned may most often have existed or in reality existed in the past, in the historical past of the culture that is talked about. And again, the issue discussed may be a bit not what the historian is expecting, but the fact that the issues happened and the characters existed around the same time helped to draw attention to this to the fact of history. And apart from that, it's difficult for me to begin to look at things outside of his work, okay? Boss Salah has talked about Yerima's influence and mentorship. And Edgar talked about Yerima's work and personality as a director and as a humanist. And for me, I'll continue to interrogate the materials that he is giving to the world, all right? So now he will continue to be with us, even when he lives 100 years here on earth and transcend into the higher plane, the material will continue to be here. Now we will begin to rank, oh, now we have someone who left for us, just as we are reading William Shakespeare and we are interrogating Shakespeare's material. Generation to come will continue to interrogate the works written by Yerima. I want to believe this, not necessarily those who are in theater art alone, those who are studying English, so those who are studying English literature, those who are studying Nigerian society and culture, those who are studying history, so they or even philosophy. And if you come philosophy, we find it handy and ready material to use and to interrogate to help their research. Thank you.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Those historical plays, I remember when we read Atahiru and Ahmed Yerima the Great in class. My students were because I started by giving them a background to history. What is historical drama? Why do we have to listen to, watch historical drama? Why are they important? So they need to understand why it is important, how your forebears have been, how whatever in Igbo parlance they say, where the rain began to beat you. Achebe will say, if you do not know where the rain began to beat you, you may not know, where to, how to shield yourself. How very important it is to know your past. And it is drama that brings it, because the past is past, but it is the drama that brings it back to the present and make the young people understand what, their great grandfathers fought against and the caliber of people they are. And compared to what they are doing right now, what you are doing right now, are you behaving like your grandfathers, or have you become somebody else? They were so moved by the story of Atairu and Ahmed Albany, the great, and the way the whole world will hear about it, so that it doesn't end with the theater students, is these historical plays are moving around all the time with them, so that people of all walks of life and disciplines will watch them and realize an aspect their history that they do not know about, which they actually need to know about. Thank you so very much.
Prof, I just want to add a little bit that not only the historical place, not only the historical.
Yeah, I'm just talking about historical place. Go ahead.
He said he's a social-political realist playwright. So whatever he has written about that has to do with Nigerian reality, we become historical material.
Yes.
Because it interrogates our reality as it's happening. Okay, and so since this is the way he's doing it, and then the material will continue to be relevant to the study of the Nigerian past, or the culture that this place comes from, or the area. Just as we are reading the work of a classical Greek place, and we're saying that, we are able to see the way the Greco-Roman lived during their time, and the way their life, their society was shaped through this place. So this is the way I see Yerima's work, not only the historical play they're interrogating, but almost all of them. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Adejumo. And Edgar, I don't know, he's gone, right? Adejumo, are you still there? Will you want to say something? Have we lost that one too? Yeah, okay. So, Toby, it looks like we're going to move ahead and conclude. The rest of the panelists are no longer here, and we have taken too much time already anyway. So at this juncture, then, I'll thank everybody who contributed. If we're permitted, and there is somebody in the audience who will want to contribute something because, of the person we are celebrating today, I guess the person can now do that since we have a few minutes.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Udengwu. Before we move to the Q&A, I was wondering if it's possible we, also have Prof. Yerima himself reflect, or even before then, Dr. Adejumo, give us more extensive discussion on the dramas of Prof. Yerima for those who might not be either too familiar with it. So we still have pretty much about 10 minutes to 15 minutes to achieve that. So if Dr. Adejumo can still talk extensively for, say, the next 5 minutes, for those who might not be familiar with the dramas of Prof. Yerima, then Prof. Yerima can then come in after them to reflect on all that I've said.
All right, because looking at the program, I think that this is the moment for bedroom break, after which Dr. Adejumo will now present his keynote speech.
Yes.
So I think we will hear the rest of what he has when he's still going to present his keynote.
Well, if we have the luxury of time, but like you said,
That's what I'm saying.
yes.
So let's move fast so that he will be able to deliver his. Maybe we'll cut the bedroom,
Definitely.
time, or even skip it completely since we don't have much time left.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm here as well. Go ahead.
Okay. Adejumo, do you want to present your keynote now?
Let me go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yes,
So that,
because we are running short of time. Thank
but
you.
don't forget,
Uh-huh.
Prof also supposed to say something before we go on. But if thank you.
Prof, I don't know, Prof. From what I'm looking at, Prof will come after your presentation, after your keynote.
Thank you so much, Prof, and thank you, everyone. I appreciate this very opportunity to speak to the work of Professor Ahmed Yerima and also to talk about him in a way. I'll say that I've been on a very close proximity with Professor Ahmed Yerima now for part of 15 years. Okay, but my relationship with his work transcend this very period, because I can remember when I was an undergraduate at the University of Ibadan, one of the things I was doing was to direct his plays. I was always directing his plays. And to the extent that when it got to the point of my PhD, one of my professors at the time said, why don't you go ahead and work on Yerima, because you're always defending his works. So that culminated into my PhD research in on the work of Ahmed Yerima, which took me to Leiden University in the Netherlands. But now, be that as it may, what am I going to say about someone that has written himself into his work, and the work is out there, and so becoming well known to everyone in Nigeria and also outside Nigeria. But so let me place Yerima as an elephant and take a little chunk of it, of him, so to talk about. To read about his life history and what he has been able to accomplish, we'll be going into personal detail. But on Ahmed Yerima is larger than I could ever say. Having studied him in close proximity, myself and him, we always have what we consider as unhealthy analysis of his material. They said when you are closer to someone, you don't see finished. So that has been the ugly side of me in relating to his work. So I look at the current trend of Yerima's work and look from socio-political realism and what I consider as terrorism and insurgency in Nigeria. So Yerima picked being a social realist playwright. What Yerima has done is to look at Nigeria for the last more than 10 years now and document it in dramatic form. He looked at the terrorist attack on the Chibok community in the northern part of Nigeria at the turn of the Boko Haram insurgency, and he wrote plays to depict the issue of Boko Haram activities. And many people, when he wrote the first one regarding this work, was like, "Oh, you are going into a terrain that may be that may not be palatable for you." But he went on to write others. He wrote Little Drops on the Niger Delta militant activity, and how you portray that the youth were destroying their community the same way while trying to fight for a restored control. And so he looks at this issue closer to it in The Heart of Stone and in Paris, that talks about the crisis in the northern part of Nigeria. So after that, he's gone ahead to write many other works like Endue. I have his most current work right here with me, which I'm yet to, okay. I placed them to show everyone the work of Yerima recently while I was running the my system around it. I have Layefa here. Okay, and like we've discussed, I look at it, the history of the formation of Nigeria is replete with conflict, insurrections, and insurgencies. Before the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates of Nigeria into a nation state, it witnessed various indigenous ethnic groups, oppositions, and conflicts with imperial British colonial power. Post independence, Nigeria has been characterized with incessant intra and inter-ethnic strife and religious unrest. Since the return of democratic governance in the country in 1999, after 25 years of unbroken military dictatorship, agitation, militancy, and insurgencies have been a recurrent decimal in the nation's sociocultural and political space. To respond to these issues, Nigerian dramatists have preoccupied themselves with the dramatization of the menace to the nation's existence. This keynote, like I mentioned, look at these works that touch the issue of insurgencies and terrorism, and also destruction of the Nigerian space. Socio-political realism is used in this argument as an aspect of realism that deals with the representation of social and political issues within the environment from which the literature emanates. It represents some aspect of events as they occur in real life as a method of literary composition. Okay, so I went further to look at this work and put them into period of writing and what happened around the period. Little Draws by Yerima was written in 2009. This was at the time that the Niger Delta youths were agitating for resource control, and at the end of it, the federal government established the Niger Delta Commission, the Nigerian Niger Delta Commission, and they also put in place the Niger Delta Ministry to cater to the need and agitation of the youth. And Heart of Stone was written in 2013, while Paris was written in 2016. So these are attempts at reality. Severe violence like bombing of oil installations, kidnapping of expatriate oil workers, destruction of lives and properties, environmental degradation, government neglect, and high-handedness. Within a society, it has to accommodate what considered as political reality in its place. So this is what Yerima has done, and at the moment he's still doing it. And like I said recently, that Yerima, when he finds himself within an environment, he loves to show that he is relevant to the environment. So he wants to give, to speak back to the environment, and also to let them know that I'm here and I'm relevant to what is going on. So in the word of Yerima, the writer is a product of the society in which he or she exists, and also must create within the parameter of the socio-political reality to remain a representation of the society. So militancy and arrest of terrorism is, whichever way you look at it, they're provoked by ethno-religious division, severe social and economic deprivation with both intellectual and material poverty, which have been recurrent decimal in Nigeria since the return to democratic governance in 1999. So the activities of ethnic militias, especially in the Niger Delta in the early period of the year 2000, the radicalization of the Boko Haram terrorist groups since 2009, coupled with the ongoing deadly onslaught by, we say in quotes, sometimes the Fulani X-Men. But we need to understand that when we talk about onslaught and the radicalization of religious fanatics that is taking place in the northern part of Nigeria, it's erroneous to use the word Fulani, that this is done by the Fulanis. So rather than generalization, we should just look at those who are involved. These are militants, these are terrorists. So recently there was a bomb attack in the northern part of the country, something we thought as been in the past, but we found that it happened. But many Fulani have come to condemn this and that we should not rope them with criminals. So while arguments suffice that the militant activities are localized to the protection of the rights and resources of the various ethnic nationalities that they claim to represent, having been led down by the national government in the area of infrastructural development, the activities of Boko Haram have assumed a localized. What I mean by localized dimension is an amalgam of globalizations and localization. It ably defines the local and cross-border colorations of the terrorist activities of the group. Because we do know now that a lot of these always come from Niger and the countries in the north of West Africa, but in the north of Nigeria, and they carry out these activities in conjunction with other known or hardened terrorist groups like the Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. Okay, and so one argument, like I said, the emergence of Boko Haram, which was founded in 2002, a group of Muslim youths who consider themselves into an Islamic sect whose activity is not only to Islamize the entire Nigeria, but also claim to aid Western education and civilization. So after the death of the group's leader, Mohammed Yusuf, in the hands of the Nigerian police in 2009, under a circumstance considered extrajudicial killing, Boko Haram became radicalized and unleashed terror on the entire northeast of Nigeria and the neighboring countries like Niger, Cameroon, and Chad Republic. So if we look at it, Boko Haram's unrelenting arms engagement with the Nigerian military and that of the neighboring countries, the adoption of schoolgirls, the Chibok girls, and women from their communities, coupled with its association with Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, have combined to make the group an international terrorist organization. So, after them, so we have the agitation and the movement of cows and the livestock around the northern part of Nigeria towards the south, instead of water for the sustenance of these livestock. But along the line has been death, blood, agony, and all was thought that we consider as bad. So I look at Yerima's work. I said, these three plays, for example, the Art of Stone is the first of Ahmed Yerima two plays on Boko Haram at the time and its activities. The play depicts the life of Musa, a radicalized young man who embraced the Boko Haram ideology and of suicide bombing as a way of elevating his family from the shackles of poverty. The prophecy of early death for Musa, revealed by Kaka, a chief, and his grand-uncle, only helps to increase his resolve for suicide mission. At the end, Musa's attempt at suicide bombing is partially successful, as more than 70 people lost their lives. He survived with minor injury, and the government forces captured him. Okay. In Paris, which is a tragedy set against the backdrop of the 276 kidnapped female students of government secondary school in Chibok, Borno State, Nigeria, on the night of 14 April 2014. The play is written around Ama, the mother of the eponymous character, Pari, one of the kidnapped schoolgirls from Chibok. As Pari's parents keep hope alive that their only daughter will return to them, death of loved ones, activities of Boko Haram terrorists, constant displacement from one community to another nudge them to reality. At the end, Pari returned to her distraught mother, not as an innocent 14-year-old girl, but as a mother with a baby strapped to her back. So Yerima being topical with his work and always interrogating the Nigerian society as a way to speak to the government and also to keep this in our what's considered our collective memory. So give back to the prolificity that we found in his writing. At the moment, I said earlier that Yerima has written more than 100, but published, I could say, close to 100 at this moment. And looking at every one of them, from the Niger Delta plays, from Art Ground, Little Drops, and Ipom, where we depict characters that speak to their people and the reality of the area where they are picked from. Same thing applies in the case of Pari and Hama, the mother, that speaks to the reality of what happens in the northern part of Nigeria. This is Yerima's way of speaking to the society and also calling attention to what we're currently facing. So he has not stopped. When it comes to the Yoruba area of the country, he has taken time to pick issues that he considered germane to each community and society that want to document their reality or their past. The same thing applies to many of us who are not aware of who Adejumo Boni was and how great he was. But through the reading of Yerima's work, we're able to enter into the life of an heroic monarch who defied subjugation. He stood firm and to the end of his own life that he will not capitulate or bow down to colonial force. This is his life fights his battle to the end. He doesn't cower or stop immediately. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. Dr. Udengwu, are you still around? Would you like to, because I don't think if I can, introduce the personality of Professor Yerima as much as you know him. I mean, we would just like to have Professor Yerima himself reflect on all of these issues that have been raised about him and about his work. And I would like you to do the honor of introducing him. Kindly unmute now, you're muted.
You know, I've actually introduced him before, but except to add that he is current, which I didn't mention then, the current Deputy Vice Chancellor of the Redeemers University. That's it, and but when I look at the program, I think we're supposed to be taking a question and answers. Few people may ask questions before Ahmed Yerima, says something. What do you say? Are you skipping that one because of time?
But we already asked people to drop their questions on the chat room. We haven't seen any yet. But if
Okay, so, and we have extended that time, I guess. So maybe we go straight to Prof giving us, I don't know if Prof was there when I was, introducing him, but I had already introduced him. And if he will, he can go ahead and give responses to what he has heard. Prof, please. Okay, there you are. Unmute. Unmute yourself. Oh God. Unmute. He's already speaking, but We're not hearing him.
On mute.
That's right.
That's right.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, good evening from here. And I'm really humbled. I want to thank my sister, Sister Udengwu, um, uh, my brothers, Dr. Adejumo, Mr. Adejumo, and Joseph Edgar, who is my boss in terms of putting my ideas on stage, and who is also a great friend and a family friend. Most of all, I want to thank the organizers. It is a great honor to be invited to sit down and listen to others talk about you. I was praying that I will get to this point because I was excited and I was eager to know. Sometimes when you are the actor, you do not see yourself. And it's always very interesting to know what people think about you and what they feel. And what has been said today has made a lot of, it has touched me and has also made me become more determined. But I also want to thank Professor Shoinka because I think that's where we all started from. For at least giving me the tenets, like some things to hold on to. In fact, my paper, which I wrote for the Nigerian Academy of Letters, was I said the Massachusetts the writer and the student and his teacher. And I think that's what it is. And in that paper, I asked myself, what did he teach me? I mean, it's good to say Professor Shoinka taught me this, taught me that, but what did he really teach me? And then I started seeing that apart from all and everything you've been saying is just that impetus of trying to say, look, I want to be like this man, but I don't have, I say it even in the paper, I don't have his good looks, I don't have his grammar, but I want to be a good storyteller. And I think that's also what I learned by extension from Chinua Achebe, the great man who started telling stories from Things Fall Apart and all the other works which we had to read in school. But the greatest place I have to talk about and I have to be grateful for was being born in Nigerian. I love being born in Nigerian because Nigeria provides you with so much materials. In my class, I always say that the society demands for the literature it gets. And so society invariably is the one that creates the writer. But the writer himself must be willing to listen to society, must be willing to understand what society is talking about, and must be willing to be able to speak to society by making there exists between them a relationship of give and take. And Nigeria is so diverse, and I enjoy it. And I use that to thank my father, who was a policeman who was going from some place to place, being transferred. And each time he did that, I was able to pick a few things from each society, and that has each culture, and that has made me very culture friendly to a point, you know. And I do not see myself as Ahmed Yerima, but more of Nigerian, and that has also endeared me to the Nigerian society. And each time someone in Odumegwu Ojukwu University says he wants to read Orisha-Beji, and I say, really? Are you sure? I should send you 100 copies? Well, what are you going to do with it? And then they now send me the production of Mojagwe or send me the production of plays that I used to think they might not do. I find that invariably what one has been able to achieve that way is to be able to break the barriers, the cultural barriers, where they see the storyteller telling everybody a story, and the point of emphasis now becomes what they pick on. And that inspires me. And that's where I have to be grateful to Nigeria for. Because what Nigeria has done is to provide this very rich cultural background. And I am more, well, Edgar says that I'm very nice to work with because I'm more interested in the realization of my work. I am, like Adejumo said, I go through a spiritual process before I write a play. In fact, I write a play 5 times, one play. And what I do is to try and review it and try and tell it until I become part of that story. And I think that's what makes when the living characters are alive, that's what makes them cry, because they let them understand their humanity, their spirituality, and the essence of the reason why this play was written. And so it allows me constantly to have that understanding of what the work is all about and how I want to understand my relationship with society. But I have read theses. I've heard people defend their theses. I've read some of them. I've read some papers while assessing professorial candidates. But I have never had to sit down like I did today, and be in fact, if my shoulders could grow, they would grow larger than the room I'm sitting in, and which is quite large. But I just want to say that yes, I need to appeal, because I heard very passionate plea of Edgar, where he was talking about a masterclass for people. I think one learns. Unfortunately, the problem is that most of us writers who we want to grow, and we want to make it big, and we are also crushed by the demands of society. And so sometimes when we get a good job or a good opportunity, maybe we are too anxious to benefit from it. And I want to plead with Edgar not to give up, because he's doing a great job. I mean, through him, I have met quite a number of people that I've written works about, and I think what he's doing is maybe he should just face people like us gradually out. I said that Gowon, I'm presently writing on General Yakubu Gowon, would be the last that I would write for him, so that other younger writers will come. And what I can now do is like do a script editing, and that would help me to also touch the lives of those writers. But writers are very egotistic, so when they write their plays, I think it is difficult for them to accept that the play would need to be touched up here and there. But I think I will get around it one way or the other. And then I want to also thank the academic world, because the academic world, for me, has been very useful. In fact, somebody brought a PhD thesis, and all the PhD thesis was talking about is why Yerima writes names his place in one word. Tutti, all those one letter words that I give the plays, the titles. And so I found it, I said, this is what you got your PhD on. And he said, yes. And then it became more exciting for me. And that's what I feel right now. I feel very excited. And I hope other playwrights will have this opportunity, and they will also be able to benefit from it. I think you've all said so many great things, and I have learned. I've taken notes. My wife is also taking notes here, and so we'll listen. We've listened to them, and I will begin to work on them also, because one cannot be that perfect. But when it comes to writing consciously, I do not want to write consciously for the outside world. I want the outside world to take the pains to come in and read my work. And I was very happy when a publisher in America wrote to me and said, "We'd like to publish all your work because people keep asking." And but one has to be very cautious and careful about such grapplings. And that's what I want to say about the young playwrights or who are listening to this program, that the major problem is publishing right now. We are having a reading culture because quite a lot of people are reading and writing. And we have so many universities who are looking for plays. And what I do as a member of the advisory board and what we do at the NLNG with the prize of literature, Nigeria Literature Prize, is done is to make sure that these works get outside the country. I think we should consciously write. That's my advice to the young writers, that they should consciously write for the society. And therefore, when the society learn it, then it becomes easier for them to stretch these works and take them out and then be able to. But people need to know what Nigerian sensibility is all about. What are the commonalities? What are the things that bring Nigerians together? And I think for me, that's what I want to look at. I want to look at the proverbs. I've seen so many theses written on Yerima's use of proverbs, Yoruba proverbs, Hausa proverbs, Igbo proverbs. Very, very good. I like that. And I also like the spirituality of our culture. Even though I'm a Christian, but what I believe in is also I use that to enhance and highlight. I think the first question I sent, the first note, a message I sent to His Excellency General Gowon was, can you send me 4 songs, being the son of a pastor, can you send me 4 songs of, that has guided you, Christian songs, Anglican songs? And he sent me 6 or 7 because by the time his friend told him, oh, I've done this, and he had written about one of his officers, General Obasanjo, he was now excited about it. Now he wants to read the script, either before the production or after the production. That's the kind of I think benevolence God has given to me, a kind of blessing to be able to write and be taken seriously, because that is what I'm praying for, that the young writers coming after me would also enjoy. I think, again, the younger writers should also try as much as possible not to relent, not to enjoy. You win one prize or you write one good play and it's performed and you say, it's okay, I'm done. Nigeria is so big. The society is organic, and so the themes of the plays should also work. And it's those themes that have stretched. In fact, I didn't know I'd written up 100 plays until recently when I was touching up my CV, and I said, oh my God, oh my God. Because I just kept writing as society changes and the temperaments of society also change. So I'm very grateful. I want to thank everybody, especially the organizers. I want to thank the National Theatre and the National Troupe, where I had the opportunity to serve as an officer there. I want to thank the present artistic director and the DG of the National Theatre for helping to cooperate and get this program together. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Prof.
much, Prof.
We're happy. That's why we're happy you
That's
are
why we're
here.
happy you are here.
So all you have said, we
All
have
you have
heard.
said, we have heard.
Going to try
Going to
and emulate and implement, and build on your legacies. And at this juncture, I want to Toby, do we still have time for?
Yeah, well, I'm still not seeing any questions in the chat room, but maybe there's anyone who might want to ask live. If anyone prefers to ask Professor Yerima any question.
Yeah, if anybody wants to ask live, does anybody, if you want to ask, you know what to do. The hands, I've not seen the hand up. Use the raise hand icon.
There is There is more of a comment here. I don't think it's a question from Adeyinka. I would like to read that.
Okay.
Or if the person is here, the person could also elucidate on that. So it says, I actually do agree the film is an offshoot of stage theater. Just like every other aspect of technological development, so it is with film. The stage theater must also develop technologically because you can't separate theater from society and development. Where theater cannot reach, film is able to reach in terms of audience. However, we must begin to look backwards and forward on how stage theater can be revived, especially at the grassroots. No matter how far-reaching film can get, the living breath experienced in live theater is incomparable. This is the reason writers like Professor Yerima must stay in the forefront to make sure stage plays must not die.
Okay. And written by, do we know the name?
Adedigba Adeyinka.
Adeyinka. So thank you so very much for that contribution. Do we have another one?
There was an earlier comment by Akini Adeleke, but I guess this is just to celebrate Professor Yerima with us. And it says, I join all participants and the panelists to celebrate the achievement of my great friend, daddy, companion, leader, mentor, and influencer, Professor Ahmed Yerima. There is nothing done that is too much to recognize and celebrate this living legend. I have never seen any man as theatrical as Prof. He doesn't just write theater, he breathes and sneezes it. I feel so proud to be identified with you, Baba.
Thank you so much for that contribution.
If there are no questions, we would like to just end it on this note and say that it has been a productive time. But I would like you, Matt, to give your own recap of the issues. What is a call to action for the younger generation? Prof has also raised his own, and as I won't call you a gendered scholar, but someone who has been at the forefront of the involvement of women and the reproduction of theater to explain the realities of women, I would like you to raise a call to action for us.
Okay, well, so yeah, but everyone is important in the society, both men and women. What we say to men, we say to women, so that we'll be able to coexist and work together, actually. So that when we are talking about celebrating Yerima's contribution, it's not limited to women, it is not limited to men, but what speaker after speaker have harped on this past 2 hours plus is include Ahmed Yerima's, not just his work that is so people-centric. You find somebody who is open and free and humane in his handling and the depiction of a society, not just in his writing, but in his daily life as well, as you could get from the testimonies, all over the place. So that is a challenge to the upcoming youth because what will all this, amount to if there is no continuity? All right, that means that there is a challenge for the youth to understand, to read and understand Yerima's work and think about its contribution to the society, not just a matter of doing theater for the fun of doing theater, but doing theater with the purpose of serving the society for good, actually. All right, because a lot of things are going on now, and when you get to the social media, the things you see and the things you hear, oh, you wonder, where will these Gen Zs, where are they heading to? What kind of future are they actually, preparing for themselves? But I think that if they can read works such as that of Ahmed Yerima and the rest of them, and they will see where their culture is coming from, and then be able to build on it instead of doing things that have no foundation anywhere. And they know that when there is no foundation, you build on a quicksand, that means there's no future for that building. All right. So I thank all these people that came up to say how they have been impacted by the works of Ahmed Yerima and their encounter with him, collaborating with him at various points, how he has impacted on them. And we need such, as Edgar said, we need more of that. And that's why Edgar is proposing that Ahmed Yerima should think very seriously about establishing master classes so that he will have more of people doing, not just reading his plays and to graduate, and then they'll graduate and go away, but people who will be guided in their future, with the things, the legacy left behind by their elders, so that they will not build their own foundation on a quicksand. Yeah, so that said, I thank everybody, and I thank my big brother, that's what I call him, and he calls me sis. So I thank my big brother for all he's been doing and all he's doing, and he's such a humble person, so I'm sure he will take into consideration all this challenge that has been put to him, especially by Edgar, the very outspoken Edgar. He says, slow down on writing books. Go for establishing master classes and train more people so that they will be like you, so that we will have more of you, and that will change, because no one single person can change the society. I thank you all for being here. Thank you so much, and I big thank you to the organizers, Toby and his group. Like I stated earlier here, and I agree with Toby that Professor Ahmed Yerima is an icon that is so under-celebrated. And what you people have done, I say, we are now getting started on the road to recognizing this icon in our midst. Thank you so much, organizers. And with that, I say, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Dr. Udengwu, for the wonderful moderation. And just like you said, we are just getting started.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Boytala mentioned the festival that is going on, and that's going to be convened later this year in honor of Professor Yerima. And even over here, we are pushing this project forward. We'll be having call for papers soon on the idea and works and Professor Yerima's work. And this roundtable we have is just the first in the series of other engagements we would like to have with Professor Yerima. And one of them, like I intend to you, Ma, is also publishing this in one of the top theater journals. And that is the least we can do for someone of the caliber of Professor Yerima. And this is what the GRC does. We want to celebrate our living legends while they are alive. We realize that a lot of people talk about scholars when they're long gone. I've worked with a lot of academics who, after their demise, people don't really get to know what the impact of what they have done in society. And so we decided that every year we want to choose at least one living legend who has contributed immensely to scholarship and mentorship in Nigeria and the West Africa, and even in the African diaspora as a whole, and talk about the person that we happen to have Prof. Yerima to honor today. So we'll invite you all to join us another time. We'll be sending information about this events that we do via the regular platforms, and we hope that you'll be able to join us. Once again, I really appreciate everyone for finding the time to join us today, and I wish us the rest of today.
Thank you so much. And
in case anyone wants to talk, chat,
yeah, anybody that wants to say anything. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
I guess Madam is there, Prof.
I've been here the whole time. How can I leave? You're talking about my Prof.
Thank you.
Especially ourselves. The time has come for us who know to protect the country. May Allah guide us in this great task. Jama'ah, servants of the faith, we have listened. Friendship is a delicate aspect of life. Like Allah to test human with. To have a friend, a wise man once told me, you lost one hand. Amma, to keep the friendship going takes sacrifice. So you close both hands. Can there be friendship between a Muslim and a believer? We have listened to your different reactions. From the time of my grandfather, I knew that the white man smiles more than he speaks. His white flesh covers his white flesh. He gets him, I don't so. I've never trusted who asks too many questions about your culture and only shows you drawings and photographs about you. At every wedding party, we not only pray that there should be done, with the bride, but the holy.
Don't forget all
Assalamu alaikum, Baba. Awali jam. I came as soon as I had your call.
I can see. How are the children?
Baba. They insist on coming to stay in the palace. Well, their mother is too quiet. When she's that way, I allow matters to remain as they are for a while.
Nonsense. You should allow them to come and stay here. They are early. They are the children of here. They must be allowed to learn by seeing the legacies of their great ancestors. Go there. You must allow my grandchildren to come and stay with me here tomorrow. We have tomorrow.
You catch it. I shall send them tomorrow.
My dear, women, you take them too seriously. When I left to them, nothing will happen to their children. There's always a visit every day. I remember my mother gave 20 reasons while I was too young to attend Quranic school, even when all my mates had gone to school.
So what did you do, Baba?
She knew I was close to my grandmother. So I would tell her I was going to stay with my grandmother and play there. And she never knew until one Sunday. My grandfather, Khalifa had heard of my gift of reading the Quran by heart. So he made me recite it in front of the crowd at the mosque of Sheikh. That was when she knew. And for days, wallahi, no woman would talk about her own son near her.
see. I have also sent for my father. There is a naughty issue I want you to explain to us. Yes, us. Concerning the parliament. The white man raises dust on all fronts around South Carolina. And now the other one, this is what is one. And it has become his obsession. I thought they were our friends. But too much information gets to them. It's as if there are spies here. And who feeds them with all our information, all our doom, all our plans, all our children, all our hidden tactics. But lie it is, sir. No. How about the vassal states? Those ones too. The white man slowly has broken up the unity of the caliphate built by my ancestors. And instead have installed their own people, who now, with the white man's protection, openly question my authority. We must never allow this to happen, Baba. If we must, your caliphate must remain intact.
Will all checked-in passengers on British Airways flight to London Heathrow please proceed to gate B44. Final call for all checked-in passengers to London Heathrow. Proceed to gate B44, please. Thank you.
Our flights are not due for another day. Hey, am I getting too much of the night? My God, no! Professor, how is the transition to Shomolu going in?
On course. 1998 is our new year. There's so much activity already.
Yeah, that's the activities that people crisscross. They are all involved in the game of trying to guess which party your head of state will join. Professor, it's less than 6 months to go. And there is still no one with clear presidential aspiration. This is very good.
Well, there have been movements.
You sound very skeptical, Professor. I think you are afraid.
Oh, I am not. It is just that one is very careful not to make too many pronouncements.
Pronouncements? Do you think that there will be pronouncement again? In Jeremy,
I know.
Professor.
Honestly, I don't.
Professor, you are just coming from my team.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that's fair? Your head of state will hand over to a democratically elected president come October 1990?
Well, I would like to reassure the people of Africa and indeed the world that I have no doubt that by the grace of God, the head of state will hand over to a democratically elected civilian government by October.
What about
General Tony Abacha? What about you? There is no big deal about a military officer becoming an elected president. Look at the Rwandans of Ghana. The Ghanaians voted for him. If Nigerians vote for Abacha, I say that you know.
And what about June? What
did I teach you in school? The issue of June 12 is sub judice. Under court consideration. I have no right whatsoever to discuss it.
Don't be made. We in South Africa need to know. The whole world needs to know. You Nigerians need to know that gone ahead against when you live in isolation. World politics takes the heartbeat of African political situation from Nigeria. So when Nigeria sneezes, it is the concern of the whole world to find out whether it is common cold or chronic asthma. Nigeria
giants of ourselves. Let me tell you, take Nigeria and South Africa, for example. Do you know that there was a time when we in ANC could not pass a resolution without first clearing with Nigeria? Do you know how much Nigeria spent in cash and kind to free the black people of South Africa? So don't argue with me, sir, when I tell you that Nigeria is the giant one. So how did we get this back? Maybe because your politicians are not tested. Maybe because your politicians have a perspective how best to serve themselves and work with the community rather than work with themselves. Well, ain't it this? Maybe because you have no political currency. But we have.
Well, that's all we have. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.